Well, I just wanted to post this. I just wanted to record this because, one, I just needed to have a memory of this dream. So I'm not sure if I'm going to record it or whatever. Post it. Why am I scrambling with my words? I'm not sure if I'm going to post it, but I have to record it because sometimes I don't record my dreams, and a lot, like when I first wake up, I remember a lot, but then if I forget to record them, I only remember bits and pieces by the end of the day, and I don't want that to happen because this really, really, really spoke to me. Okay, so this morning, for some reason, I woke up at like 5. I had to use the bathroom, so that's probably why I woke up. But I believe I woke up for a reason. Although when I ended up going back to sleep, I felt a little bit bad because all I did was watch a whole bunch of YouTubes on celebrities and things like that. But it stemmed from me seeing a post from a brother in Christ about DMX, and it said DMX's death or something like that. And I was just like, what? You know what I mean? Because I wasn't like, when you hear about somebody dying that you're not really thinking about, or that you just, it comes as a surprise. So, mind you, I grew up on DMX. Like, my father, he would pick us up from school, and he would be playing DMX in the car. We knew pretty much the whole Rough Rider album and DMX's like first album. And I really loved DMX's lyrics back then when I was a child. And then as I grew up, excuse me, as I grew up, I didn't listen to him that much. But once in a while I'll hear, his song, and I'll just, jam to it, or, I might hear it on Pandora or whatever. But anyway, I don't want to go too much into that. So anyway, I woke up at around 5 this morning, and that's the first video. I was looking, sometimes I just lay in bed and I'll just be on my phone, and I just ended up just going on YouTube after I was looking up a few things. So I saw that video about DMX's death, and I just was like, wait, let me look at this. And I looked at it, and I saw a video, I think of him, I think he was ministering or something. I'm not exactly sure. I don't remember what it was of, but it was just showing a picture of him, in the title of the video, the YouTube video said DMX's death or something like that. So I clicked on it because I'm just like, whoa, what happened? So now after that, it led me to go on to, how you watch one video on YouTube and then there's a whole bunch of other videos that come along with it. So I just ended up from 5 o'clock to like 8 o'clock just looking at a whole bunch of DMX's videos, his ministering, his, what people said about him, or, just different things. And at 8:30, I was kind of tired, and I was just like, I kind of want to go back to sleep, but I was like, I wanted to read the word, but I was like, I'm tired. I'm just tired because I think I went to bed at maybe 12:30, and I woke up at 5, and I was still kind of tired, even as I was watching the videos. So I decided to go back to sleep. But in my me being awake before I went to sleep, I was thinking about, I wonder if DMX went to heaven. You know what I mean? Because anytime a celebrity dies, if they're really worldly, I'm like, they had to go to hell. You know what I mean? It's like they didn't give their life to Christ before they died. I'm sure they went to hell. There's a lot of people that I can think of who died, who I believe went to hell. But then certain people who I hold dear in my heart, like certain celebrities who I feel like they didn't get the they didn't get the best hand, you know what I mean? I kind of feel like maybe God had mercy on them, and maybe some way, somehow they are in heaven. So I was like, I know DMX gave his life to Christ, and I know that there was still word about him still dabbling in drugs and stuff like that, but we don't really know that for sure. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that he was, and I'm not saying that he wasn't, because I don't know him. But what I'm saying is, he did give his life to Christ. He did minister about Christ. He spread the word. He spread God's word. You know what I mean? And although he might have had a past, and he might have still been struggling with addiction, or certain things, but I know I can see the sincerity in his walk and in his videos. Like, I never watched him in his journey with Christ. Never, like I said, I used to listen to him back in the days when he first came out. And then, and I remember seeing the Avanya Fix My Life thing on him and stuff like that. And I remember hearing talk about him, and I always felt so bad for him, because I knew he was suffering very hard. I knew he was suffering deep down, and I knew it had to do with the industry, but it also had to do with his life and his losses and things like that. Again, I don't know him like that, so I don't know everything, but I knew what I knew based off of what I saw and heard about. So, and then maybe once in a while, in my recent years, I probably saw a few videos of him, maybe talking about Jesus or stuff like that. But to this morning, when I watch those videos, I can see the light in him. I can see the sincerity in him talking about Christ. Like, okay, we have a few other celebrities who talk about Christ. Like, we have Kanye now, who, is been spreading the gospel and things like that. And to an extent, I believe that, God is speaking to him in a way. Do I know if he gave his life fully to Christ? No. Do I know his whole walk and his whole journey? No. Because I don't know him like that. But even in Kanye West, I feel some sort of a sincerity. I'm not 100% sure, but I feel some sort of a sincerity with his, new life in spreading, the gospel, or, talking about Jesus. But that's a whole nother story. So me watching DMX's current videos and me seeing a few things from back in the days when he was talking about Christ, I knew he had a struggle. He was in the industry and things like that. And the industry, is not good for anyone, So, yeah, so I knew about all of that. But like I said, his recent videos and stuff, I'm just like, I see a sincerity in him. And I wanted to make this video. Like I said, I don't know if I'm going to post it, but I wanted to make it for myself, because sometimes we, as believers, we can deem someone who we don't know their walk, we don't know their lives, we can deem them as bad, or we can deem them as, they're probably not going to go to heaven, or they're probably not real, or whatever. They're not real Christians and things like that. We can have a mindset of judgment instead of love. And I remember the other day, a few times, I'm going to say within this month and even past before, I kept hearing the song in my spirit or in my mind. I don't know where it was coming from, but I heard it in me. One of DMX's songs, and it was I forgot the words, but it goes excuse me. It goes, that's the melody. I don't know the words. I really don't know what they're saying. It sounds like Faith Evans is singing. but I'm not sure. I forgot. So, anyways, I kept hearing that song, and I was remembering certain words from that song, and I was like, oh no, why is that song coming up in my mind or whatever? I was like, I can't be singing that. That's a bad song. You know, even though I loved that song back in the days, I actually really loved that song because it made me feel it made me feel some sense of sadness, but some sense of joy. And when I would watch that video, it used to make me feel emotional. And I don't know if it's because maybe in that song he was talking about his life and his struggles. Like even now I feel like I'm getting teary-eyed because every time I used to hear that song, I felt sad, but I felt joy. And um and the lyrics of the song wasn't the best lyrics, I don't believe. Like, you know, it could have had some curses in it and stuff like that, but I believe he was probably talking about his life in that song. And the melody and the singing behind it, it just used to stir up emotions in me, you know what I mean? And it made me to have a heart towards him, and just really just think about him and his struggle. Like, you know, a lot of his songs would do that. Um, when he started facing certain things and demons and things like that, and he was making music based off of what he was facing in life. Sometimes those songs would make me emotional. So I remember hearing that song the other morning, and previously, and I'm like, oh no, I can't be hearing that song in my mind. I gotta stop singing that song in my mind. It's a bad song. It's a bad song. It's bad lyrics. You know what I mean? And I believe God probably could have been speaking to me through that song some way, somehow. But I deemed it as a bad song, and I didn't even take a thought about the person behind the song. I just was like, oh no, I can't be singing that. That's a worldly song. That's a secular song, you know? And that's why I'm coming with this video, because sometimes as believers, we can be so judgmental, so just one track minded, not realizing that God could use anybody, you know what I mean? So again, back to the situation. So after I was watching his videos this morning, I'm like, before I went back to sleep at around 8:30 a.m., I'm like, I just was wondering, like, did he go to heaven? Like, I remember even before, like, a lot of people, a lot of celebrities who have my heart, like Bob Marley. I always had a soft spot for Bob Marley, even though I know he didn't live so much of a righteous life, but I appreciated what he did and what he spoke about. He always spoke about Christ. He always stood for what was right, even though he didn't live the best of the holiest of lives. He always was standing up for what was true and what was right. And he always had a place in my heart. Like, I just really liked Bob Marley. I really liked DMX too, and DMX had a place in my heart too. So a lot of different people who I would watch documentaries on and things like that. Even some of my family members, like, I remember me questioning, like, I don't recall this person giving their life to Christ. I wonder if they went to heaven. You know what I mean? And when we look at certain videos of Bob Marley, I know they talk about that Bob Marley did give his life to Christ at the end of his death, on his deathbed. I remember hearing that. So although he talked about Christ throughout his life, he wasn't necessarily living Christ-like, but he spoke of God a lot, you know. And I think at the end of his life, he finally understood. He came to to more of a full conclusion of how to serve Christ and who he was, and that's when he gave his life to Christ. And when me watching one of his documentaries, and just studying certain things about him, I remember me having that same question. I wonder if he went to heaven, because he did speak a lot of God. I know he wasn't living the holy life, but he did a lot of righteous. He did a lot of good, and I'm like, I wonder if he went to heaven. And then I remember them saying that he did at the end of his life give his life to Christ, give his life to Jesus. You know, um, um, so I was like, but I still don't know, because he didn't necessarily live so holy and so pure and things like that. But I questioned it one day, and then I had a dream. So, which confirmed to me that he is in heaven. Now, I'm not going to get into that dream, but I just wanted to give an example of how a lot of times when people die, I question, oh, well, this person was like this. Did they go to heaven? And I'm not so much always questioning like, no, they had to go to hell because they was bad. It's just more like an innocent, like, I just wonder, you know what I mean? Even though they didn't live the Christ life or whatever, or maybe they gave their life to Christ at the end or whatever the case is, I'm like, I wonder if they're in heaven, you know what I mean? And a lot of times when I ask that, right after that, if I go to sleep maybe the next day or maybe a week later or whatever, you know, within that same time frame of me having that on my mind, did they go to heaven? Like, I remember one of my uncles was gay. One of my uncles didn't necessarily talk about Christ, whatever. I don't recall him giving his life to Christ, whatever. But I remember me asking, because I was a believer, so I'm always wondering, you know what I mean? And I remember me saying to myself, I wonder if they went to heaven. And God gave me dreams after every time I asked, every single time that I asked, did this person go to heaven? God always gives me a dream, which confirms to me that either they did or they didn't. But most of the time, when I have a question of a person who is in my heart very strongly, who I hold dear to my heart very strongly, and I'm like, okay, they died, but I don't recall them giving their life to Christ, whatever, whether if it's a family member or whether if it's somebody like a celebrity, I'm like, I wonder if they went to heaven. I don't know. And then I'll have a dream. And like I said, most of the time, it'll be about somebody who I hold dear in my heart, who I know did a lot of good, whether if it's a celebrity or whether if it's a person in my family. And mostly all the times, those handful of people or whatever, God will confirm that in my dream that they went to heaven. And like I said, I don't have dreams about everybody who dies and if they went to heaven. Excuse me. Okay. So basically, see my shirt? From glory to glory. So anyways, I'm trying not to make this long. I'm trying to get to the point. So basically what I'm saying is, most of the time, the people who I think about if they went to heaven are people, whether if it's celebrities or whether if it's people in my family, they'll be people who I hold dear in my heart, like, again, Bob Marley, DMX, people like that who did a lot of good, or a person in my family who I knew was really good to me or did a lot of good, even if I don't recall them giving their life to Christ. It'll be mostly those people who I hold dear in my heart that I question, did they go to heaven? Because they were very good, even though they didn't live the most holy life. So, not most of the time, pretty much all the time, and I don't have these questions all the time because people don't be dying like that all the time. But when it comes around, I'll ask in my spirit, in my mind, not necessarily asking Jesus like, oh Jesus, did this person go to heaven? It'll just be a thought in my mind, and then I'll have a dream about it. And God will confirm that that person who I held dear in my heart did go to heaven. Even though I don't recall them giving their life to Christ. He'll confirm it some way. And it's so strong in my spirit that beyond a shadow of a doubt, I know that those people are in heaven that I question, that I asked in my mind, but really I was asking God, did they go to heaven? They are in heaven. So basically what I'm saying is I questioned that when I went back to sleep. And I just was like, I wonder if he went to heaven, because some people could talk a good game, and like I said, he did seem very sincere about Christ. That's one thing that I can discern really well. If sometimes it could be a little bit hard, but I can see, I've already knew DMX as a sincere person. Not saying that I knew him, but I'm just saying, based upon what I saw about him, he seemed like a person who was trying to do good and a sincere heart who just was in a struggle. And so with that, and then now he's talking about Christ, and I see sincerity in him when he's talking about him. I'm like, his life doesn't really add up, his past, but I don't want to judge him off his past. And then right now his current, I think people like some of the videos right now were saying that he was still struggling with the drug addiction, but that could just be a narrative that they're trying to keep up with, because maybe how like other celebrities, they say that they were killed. Maybe somebody slipped them something. I don't know. I don't even want to put that out there because I don't know that. Maybe he still was struggling with the drug addiction. I don't know. But what I do know, and it is what I saw, is that he was doing his best to live for God. He was preaching the gospel, talking about God on almost every single platform. The videos that I saw, he was spreading the word of Christ and saying how, he wasn't afraid. He wasn't ashamed of it. He wasn't, you know what I mean? He was in his word. He was praying. And like I said, I don't know his life up until the end, but all I know is what I saw in videos, that he was talking about God and things like that. I don't know if he was still struggling in drug addiction. That's what they said, and that's why they say he overdosed. But look at how many people they say overdose. And of course they use that narrative on people who they knew who already had drug addictions, like Whitney Houston, things like that. But even people that we didn't hear about who had, they'll say they overdosed. And we didn't even hear about them having drug addiction, but they overdosed. So, but they try to use it more for the people who they knew had drug addictions. You know what I mean? So anyways, Michael Jackson, they knew that he had a history with pills, and, so they said, oh, he died from I think that was what he died from, overdose, whatever. Anyways, so, it might have not been that. He could have been clean now. He could have just been clean and was really, doing his best to live for God. And maybe, somebody slipped him something, and now they're like, oh, he overdosed, try to keep up with that narrative, and maybe he was killed. I don't know. I don't want to have no conspiracy theory videos and nothing like that. But you never know what could happen, because he was a part of the industry, sort of, in the beginning of his life. And I don't know. I think he pulled away from it toward the middle, So I don't know all the details, and I'm not going to go into that. But what I do know is in my spirit, I asked a question, and God confirmed to me that he went to heaven. I believe God has confirmed to me that he went to heaven. People have died before in my life, in my personal life, and celebrities who I held dear in my heart because I saw the good that they did. And I questioned in my spirit, did they go to heaven? And God gave me dreams of each of those people, and he confirmed to me through those dreams, I believe, that they did go to heaven. So what I want to say is, we can't look at people's past. And I was going to go into the details of the dream, but Um, I might do that in another video. I feel kind of drained now. I feel like, not drained, but I feel like I've been talking too much, and now I'm starting to feel a little bit like I just need to slow down. So I might be ending this video a little bit soon, so I might not go into the whole details of the dream, but I had a dream, and it confirmed to me that DMX did go to heaven, and that his work was appreciated of the Lord. So I made this video, like I said, not sure if I'm going to post it. I made it more for myself because I just wanted to just have a memory or a reminder of how we just need to not live judgmental or anything, or have our own opinions or assumptions, because we don't know. Our thoughts are not God's thoughts. We don't know everything. You know, we might think we're perfect. We might think we're living the best Christ life, but then somebody else who had a bad past, or maybe still have some of a bad today, they could die and go to heaven before we can go to heaven. You know what I mean? And I pray that I go to heaven, but I'm just saying that we can't look at somebody's life and just decide for ourselves that, oh, they're bad, they're most likely going to hell, because that's not always necessarily true. If DMX still did have drug addiction, I don't know, but all I know is I believe through this dream that God confirmed to me that he went to heaven, and God is not looking at his drug addiction. If he